You ask when, I say now. Game number 2 is about to kick off, everybody. I am still Midnight, joined by Mendrix, this time for game number 2, where we have two undefeated teams about to butt head-to-head here on Summoner's Rift. Is going to be the Cleveland District State High School facing off against De La Salle College. So again, both teams are sitting on 3-0, Mendrix, so this should be a banger of a game.
Yeah, and when you say now, I say later, because we still have to get through Champion Select, okay, mate? Let's calm down just a little bit. Let's bring it down. Just that small bit apart. But yeah, you know, I'm looking forward for this getting to it. And one thing that already comes to note of this, Cleveland banning away Lee Sin. Dextrox has been pretty damn good on that champion in previous matches. And so they have been watching their games, they have been looking at their opponents and really scoping out what they need to get rid of in terms of those problem childs. And when we saw what happened when Reprika in the previous match, what he can do when he gets something he's comfortable with, well, let's make sure Dextrox doesn't get that either.
Yeah, well, so far, we powered our way through the bans here, and they're both top laners, I should say, have been picked up now. Renekton and the Scion. So, I'm going to say, not the most exciting top lane in my opinion, at least. Scion is just the brick wall that you can throw 100 men at, and he's like, shrugs, and like, alright, cool, see you later, buddy. And so far, this mid lane. I was going to talk about jungles a little bit, but this mid lane is looking exciting with the Ahri locked in.
Oh, absolutely spicy. Syndra has a little bit of an edge pre-6, but Ahri, once she does get her ultimate, has the ability to jump in and around Syndra's orbs, which will be a big advantage. The big thing for Syndra, though, is the fact that she can just drop a number of balls into the ground and just point and click. So Ahri really does need to be a bit mindful of the amount of HP percentage that she's sitting at. Otherwise, Kimiho could be sent to an early grey screen.
Yeah. Now, it does look a little bit weird, you know, the Orianna ban after what we got already secured as mid laners. I'm willing to bet that both these teams have already done a pro draft. Now, of course, there was a bit of... This team has had to wait a couple minutes because game number 1 went to 47 minutes. So I suspect we are just looking at what's being locked in. Because, yeah, we've got a top lane and a mid lane ban coming through from the side of Cleveland. So it's likely to be that's going to grab your AD carries, lock in for yourselves, and then we can start looking at what these compositions are able to pull off.
Yeah, and you can see they are doing it in order, so I completely agree with your stance on that. And that does mean that I don't get to like talk about they took this away or they took that away. That's completely fine. I'm very interested to see the Vayne against the Ahri. That's pretty damn bold coming out of Prodigy. Has a lot of things to worry about, and Ashe would be great about it. So I imagine that probably Vayne was probably picked a little bit earlier into the draft. Prodigy probably wants to have that priority on that. Is comfortable because most of these champions that are coming into it are pretty Vayne unfriendly. I do love that Thresh pickup as well, purely because Vayne will need as much protection as possible. There is a ton of engage coming across from Cleveland here, so DLSL really do need to make sure they're keeping their carries safe, just based off the amount of sheer engagement that these guys will be dealing with.
Yeah, because typically when I see a Vayne, my go-to support is something like a Lulu or a Yuumi, something that is, you know, healing base, something that can keep the Vayne safe, and with the Yuumi, of course, amplify the damage of the Vayne. But look at the engage. There's the Ahri coming in. Of course, let's forget about Ashe. Braum has a ridiculous amount of engage in the bot side there. And then Renekton, Nunu, they've all got ways to try and get on top of the Vayne. So the Lantern, the box, everything for this Thresh to keep Vayne in one piece. But the champion that actually really excites me is the champion I skipped over completely, the Kayn. Kayn is a bit of, in my opinion at least, a little bit of a weird place in that, well, both the forms are quite viable, but I've seen so many people recently, Mendrix, go for the Shadow Assassin, the blue Kayn, because of the damage output and so on and so forth. So is there the possibility that the Shadow Assassin could be coming out from De La Salle this game?
Absolutely, you've got two prime targets to look at, Ahri and Ashe. Now, Ahri is pretty damn mobile in her own right, so it's hard for Kayn to get on them, but if Kayn does manage to get snowballing, it does have the ability to one-shot. Ahri doesn't really have a chance to really have any counterplay. Ashe, very similar in the same sense, doesn't have that ability to really get away from a Kayn that decides to jump inside you. That shadow will emerge and completely destroy you if it is the blue Kayn. Now, when I look at what's available here for De La Salle, they have plenty of damage with the Syndra in the Vayne. Wouldn't be surprised if Dextros, considering his playstyle is pretty much more Bruiser-esque, considering the way he plays Lee Sin, will probably opt in for that Red Cane. Does round out your team a little bit more. So it really does come down to how much they're actually putting onto the Thresh and the Scion here. How much they're going to really be those playmakers as in that heavy engage. If you see Thresh really opting in for a bit more of a beefier build instead of having extra cooldown reduction, it goes more armor, goes more HP, you could probably look to see that Kayn moving towards blue. If it ends up being a bit more of a cooldown reduction focused Thresh, then it's most likely going to be a red Kayn. So a lot of things will actually play out depending on their itemization. That's what I'm looking at here.
Yeah, well, we'll see how that goes. And of course, the early pathing of the Kayn could also lean into that, right? Because if for example, if we see Kayn focusing on the bot and the mid lane, then yeah, he's probably going for the Shadow Assassin. But I think another viable area to gank would actually be top lane, because Scion can do some pretty good setup for Kayn. He's got a lot of crowd control. Set Kayn up, and then Kayn, leaps over the wall, slashes into the Renekton and sees if he can get some more stats coming in. So, a minute before we dive into our second game of the night, and I just want to quickly ask you, just straight up, bottom lane, who is going to get the first blood? Because I see an Ashe on one side, a Vayne on the other. It's always the lane with a Vayne that gets first blood, for or against them. Who's getting it?
Look, it shouldn't be the Vayne. It should never be the Vayne that gets the first blood. They should be sitting back, relaxing. When I look at the sheer amount of pressure in the bot lane for Cleveland, I mean, even the characters are literally shouting blue right now. It should be a blue bot lane first blood, purely because they have got so much wave clear pressure, and they have got so much lockdown. If they do manage to catch the Vayne, who will be very, very, will be actually quite vulnerable to being caught out by either a slow, a Winter's Bite, and then just generally the Frost arrows directly afterwards. And even if they don't get to kill pre-6, the sheer engage from them is just monstrous. It's going to be arrow into the Brom ulti. Should be Ashe and Braun walking away with the first kill here, if you had to say, hey, who gets the first blood in the bot lane? Yeah,
well, Magic, it's time to find out that, as we will be diving into game number 2, guys. Do not go anywhere. When we come back, the two teams that are 3-0 in the Queensland, ACT, and New South Wales region, which is of course Cleveland District State High School and De La Salle College, will be facing off. One of these teams has to walk away with a tarnish on their record in the form of a defeat. So let's find out, guys. Do not go anywhere. You said when, I asked when, you said later. Well, later is now, Mendrix, as we are diving into our second game of the day. Cleveland and De La Salle setting up, and, well, Cleveland, I think they're ready for an invade, because it's a 5-man stack in bot side.
They're probably expecting it from the Thresh. Thresh pretty damn good at doing it, but on the flip side, I'd be worried as De La Salle for an invade as well, purely because you've got the stun from Kumiho, you've obviously got the slow from Ashe, and of course Brom, which in my opinion is one of the best early game invades possible. The fact that he can basically hit one target and immediately everyone else can apply a stun, slow into stun directly afterwards, is actually so strong. So really smart from both of these teams, considering that possible invade could happen. But I love how they're just being so careful. Like, you were talking about how later is now. Well, later is going to be a bit later because these guys aren't doing anything.
And that makes my bloodthirsty play-by-play heart a little bit heartbroken. Again, I just want that. I want the action. We got such good action in the first game of the night. I'm hoping for something relatively similar coming through here. Yeah, but I think what I want and what is probably best for the teams might be a little bit on the different side, Mendrix, because I don't feel like, especially for the side of De La Salle and Red, that they want, a super aggressive early game.
Look, they don't actually want it that crazy, believe it or not, because if I'm looking at two of these members here, or actually one specific member, Wilty. Nunu is the aggressive king. He's the guy that wants to force fights left, right, and center and has the capability to do it because he's actually a little bit faster than Dextros. The ability to literally just walk into a lane with a snowball and then walk out of the lane with a snowball going directly for one of the scuttles is pretty damn powerful. And most of the time you can actually just chain directly gank into scuttle, into gank, into scuttle. So you have to be really careful about it, especially because of that early clear. Nunu is actually really aggressive against other junglers, so it's a bit of a problem, but Level 2? I don't think they want to go under tower with that, though.
I mean, I'd appreciate the enthusiasm of going under turret, but it's not the best tactical decision, so... But at least on the bright side, because they did hit that level 2 first, they got a lot of lane pressure, and the Vayne is given a little bit of room, which, as we both know, is good for the Vayne and bad for anyone who's going to be shot by the Vayne in about 20 minutes. Because that hurts like hell, as Tang is playing super aggro on the top side, and you kind of have to, right? With the Renekton, it's been the same playstyle since Season 3. Bully your lane opponents, try and snowball out of control, and be a giant pair of walking leather shoes at 35 minutes.
Yeah, purely because he is a resourceless laner on the side of it. Oh, a bit of a hook here. Here comes the engage. Yeah,
getting to the bot side. The Nunu is his Space Groove party time. With that skin there, they will pick up first blood going over to Wilty.
Yeah, this is a problem with being too aggressive against a Nunu. Nunu will basically find that opportunity, especially when you're a lane that should be sitting back. I think the warning signs should have been going off at that point in time, saying, hey, you know what? Don't engage for it. But the Scion wants to force a fight. He gets the slow, so here comes the Kayn.
Yeah, Deathstroke's coming through there. The flash for flash. Deathstroke really wants to secure this kill here, but instead it's simply going to be summon a spell for someone else spell burn. And maybe it's just me, Mendrix. I hate being critical, but I'm not so sure Deathstroke's needed to try and force, follow the follow flash.
Yeah, he really didn't need to. Flash would have been more than enough. What you do is literally just come back a second time round. You would have actually had a little bit of an extra edge onto that scuttle there, as you can see, and then jump in afterwards. Now he might be in trouble because he is found the Nunu.
Yeah, but he's been flanked. He's on the wrong side of the jungle, forced to go in over the wall there. I couldn't actually see... No, it was going to be the side of Cleveland securing the dragon. And Tang, he did TP up back on the lane. He picked up a second Doran's ring, which I'm personally not a huge fan of there, but he needs to make this worthwhile now because Monglik, if you just let the Scion farm, or he's got plenty to sustain with two more corrupting pots, one corrupting pot, I should say, and a biscuit to snack on.
Tang's really putting everything into this early game now. He needs to find the kill probably in the next, I'd say, 3 to 4 minutes to really make this worth. Otherwise, you will have this Mokko just scaling well with the efficiency of the item purchases. If I was Mokko, I would immediately look to go back and pick up a Bramble Vest, and this lane would be over against the Renekton because he's going to be a little bit decelerated off the back of this.
I know some Renektons, and I don't like being critical of items because, well, I'm garbage at this game anyway. But I think a lot of Renektons buy the Doran Shield because Renekton's base damage, if I'm recalling this correctly, Mendrix, is pretty damn
bonkers.
High. So, yeah, it's bonkers. I was going to say pretty damn high. So grab the shield, get your sustain, who to help him bully out. Tang, of course, is going for the very aggressive double Dorans. And again, it needs to work out, and this could work out because look who is about to visit top lane. Nunu with the disco ball for the party time. Tang does get the stun, but the flash immediately from Oakley. Will it be enough? The answer looks like it's going to be no. Actually, it might. Yeah, no more committal. And Mowgli gets out alive, just burning the flash.
Yeah, it's good that he did. I was a bit worried that maybe he overstayed his welcome by trying to get his Q off as well, but it's extremely necessary that that gank needed to come through because Tang's definitely going to be in trouble. And there's also a Kayn making a move in as well. Will he go through the wall? I don't know. What's going to be behind wall number 1 with Wilty gone? I'd say that's going to be a problem. Oh, he knows, yeah. They know. They're baiting each other at this point in time. This is going to be explosive in the top very soon.
Who can outsmart who's the biggest outsmart here? Wilty goes in onto Dextrox here. The two top laners are about to butt here. Tang realizes, wait, I don't want to be here. I want to go home. Like, I don't want to be here anymore. Leave me alone. But the devastating charge does get the CC up with the Q. And that is going to be not first blood, sorry, but the first blood for the side of De La Salle College.
So the problem with that there is Dextros has been farming up an absolute storm. He's up in camps, believe it or not. That's because Wilty has been obviously ganking as much as possible and trying to find something for the rest of his team. It's unfortunate this top side because, as I said, Moko went straight for that Bramble Vest, which means Tang now is just going to be straight up behind. He hasn't got enough sustain. He's got no way to chew through that armor, probably for the next, say, 10 minutes or so. So this lane would be purely in Mokel's favor. So a bit rough for Tang at this scenario. If he really wanted to go that double Doran's Blade aggressive start, I would have recommended probably looking for press the attack. Would have given you a bit more of an edge, and it might have actually been enough to get the kill against Mokel when that initial gank came across, because Conqueror scales a bit better to that later stages of the game.
Yeah. And now with the Bramble Vest picked up for Mowgli, this lane is going to be very hard for the Renekton to do much, and I think now we can start maybe looking at a few of the other lanes here. This mid lane has been very, very passive. I mean, unsurprisingly, Syndra pre-6 doesn't really want to do a whole lot against an Ahri. Ahri pre-6 just wants to look like, can I kill you? Can I roam? What am I going to do here? And now that both have access to those ultimates, we could see some, moving around the map.
Kumiho does have the edge because has the combat summoner in the Ignite, so if Kumiho is able to actually find a decent stun, basically can follow up and immediately blow up Loco da Toko. I can't even pronounce that.
Loco to the Coco.
Loco to the Coco. I see what he's doing there. I see what he's doing. Moko might kill him.
Give it a second. Tang's in trouble. He does get the dominance, does dodge out the top.
Oh!
Go soon. Oh, the double Doran's damage is pretty nice there. Tang though not gonna die to the Scion passive. And what we talked about, the importance of the double Dorans getting a couple kills in lane, it does work out when Mowgli is a little too aggressive.
You know what was amazing from Tang? That he dodged out the Decimate. Like, that was the crazy thing about that. The ability for him to actually dodge out the Q from Merkel means he did survive that. He dived in behind him with the assistance of the tower. I really like how he baited him into that scenario. I like to think that was completely calculated coming through from Tang. It was not luck at all. And Moko just pushing it a little bit too far. He should have used his ultimate a bit earlier. If he did that, Tang wouldn't have had the support from the turret, and he would have been the one walking away with the kill.
Yeah, but turns out that's not going to be the way it is. Tang grabs one kill under the belt. We move on with the pickaxe. Now sitting quite happy in his inventory, going towards the Iron Spike Whip, and Strider Breaker or Gore Drinker, whichever one he's really feeling like today. As we're reaching the 9-minute part, and I think the game has been a bit slow, and no dragons have even been picked up early as well. So we could have another relatively late scaling game.
Yeah, the big thing that comes into it is that bot lane has been pretty demo. Never mind, they're going for it.
Oh yeah, talking about inactive, Prodigy's going in. He does get his awesome cleanse comer, does dive into the wall there. Nunu coming in from the back end of it though. This could be massive. Prodigy has to cut this out, but Lemonade's actually the counter target. They will get access to the Thresh there, and a beautiful bait. Prodigy thought he was the one in trouble, but he was merely a distraction.
So what I was trying to say is that no real lanes had actually picked up a massive lane advantage off the back of it. Never mind, Dextrox is ganking.
Yeah, Tang's in trouble there. No Dominus, no chance of getting it alive.
Alright, so perfect sense from Dextrox. You know what? Everyone's bot lane. I'm just going to find something top, so they do get something back. And Moko's going to be an absolute monster once he picks up all of these extra turrets, or all of these extra shield turrets on the side of it. Plates, that's what I was looking for. Back to the bot lane.
The things you eat on.
Exactly, the things that you eat on. That makes sense. You're feeding, get it? Anyways, so you go back to the bot lane there. What ended up happening was Kumiho managed to have lane pressure along with dominating that and, of course, numbers. By pushing those out, that means they could go for the dragon. Now, with Prodigy and Lemonade, they probably felt a little bit too, confident to go for the engage. They thought, you know what, we've only died once. Prodigy's pretty damn good. We've got the cleanse to really avoid any of those stuns. Let's force the engage. Not accounting for the extra lane pressure that I bought them, the possibility to go for the fight. And now, Wilty, he's jumping on Dextrox.
Yeah, he's 2 levels down, and he's picking the fight because he knows he has backup. Dextrox is going to go down here, and I don't think I've seen a jungler 2 level downs actively pick a fight and win said fight. Now we're in a 3 versus 2 as Mowgli is getting engaged, and Kumo is trying to be careful. You want to take this slow. Scatter the Weak does not connect, and now the charge coming through does so. Now a beautiful charm, but with Loco to the Loco going up forwards. Kumo needs to get two-man knocker, and this is a disaster. The hook goes wide, but it doesn't matter when Mowgli is hunting you down there. Level 6 on this Nunu. A flash in over the wall will get them out alive, but a good start for Cleveland, but a disaster at the end.
Yeah, Cleveland absolutely had the right idea, taking that fight directly afterwards. They had the pressure in the mid, they had the pressure top, they managed to get the kill onto Dextroff. They should have just backed away at that point. Enough time had been bought for DLSL to bring in their reinforcements. Enter Thresh. As soon as they come in from that point, they still have their ultimates available, they still have the ability to re-engage. From there, that was a perfect sign ultimate from Moko that locked down two of the members long enough to force the kills, and now it seems that DLSL's back in the game.
Yeah, this is fantastic. In fact, a bit less back in the game, more ahead of the game now. 1,000... Sorry. 1,000 gold now ahead there, and then laners are going to be having Tang. I mean, he wants vengeance, but even with the whip, it's not going to do much. Sion is going to be surprisingly tanky with the two items he's currently got, the components, I should say, he's got sitting in his inventory.
Yeah, especially with the fact that he shield scales off his HP as well, so he's able to get a little bit extra, bang for that buck, and he can be deceptively strong, especially with the fact that he's got those two consumables in place. Some people might think, Tang, what are you doing? Just go ahead and kill Sion. No, actually, with the fact that he can actually pop the biscuits in conjunction with the potion as well, or the corrupting potion, he can get a surprising amount of HP back. I think, looking at the fact he's got the biscuits, he probably has the extra benefit as well from his summoners to get a little bit more juice out of those consumables, and because he's been able to do that, he's able to make the play. I think Kumiho might actually re-engage this.
Yeah, he will, because he's got back up onto the side of the wall there, and Loco was not ready for it. A panic flash at the end will not save them from their fate. Tang, though, might be in a bit of trouble, because guess who's top lane once again? This does likely mean a Red Canes coming up, as they will try to find Kang, but Tang says, no, I want to go. And meanwhile, bot lane, the Braum made an attempt of an engage. It didn't work out too well.
Yeah, just missed out in the end, then here comes that Rift Herald as well. Oh, bad days.
Tang is...
Oh, that's a bit dirty.
Is what's happening, man. It's the direst treatment top lane. He's 1-4. He's been disbanded and abused on the Renekton. He's 1,000 gold down. Rift Herald is dropped in his lane to ensure he's not even allowed a safe place to farm. Like, you gotta feel bad for this man. He's in mid lane. Charm comes up. Akuma's on the wrong side of the lane, and yeah, he's just gonna get nuked down by the ultimate of the Syndra.
Yeah, that was actually a bit of a miscalculation coming into it, but yep, and there's more action.
Yeah, once again, Sion running for the hills there will get out in one piece, however.
Alright, so I want to talk about top lane hazards, but never mind, there might be nothing happening. Alright, so in the top lane, the big thing that you have to worry about, especially when you're a tank up against a bruiser, if you do fall behind as a bruiser, you should probably just start building tank as well. Because what will happen is the tank will sit back, happily tank those extra tower shots coming out, and then allow their jungler to come in and deal the most of the damage. And that's what you can see is happening to Tang right now. Moko's coming in, he's basically taking the brunt of all of the engaging damage from the tower. Dextross is then coming in and dealing as much damage as he needs to kill Tang, and he's basically suffering from this point forward. So a lot of that snowball comes into the fact that he's still continuing to shoot into his damage items, when really it's at the point when he needs to start tanking up a little bit. That will dissuade a lot of these dives from happening.
Yeah, well, feels like he's still just trying to put together his mythic though, man. Like, he's just trying, he's putting together the best that he can with scraps that he found in the box, and this ain't no Tony Stark. Dragon
if you're alive, do you get your mythic faster or slower?
I don't know. All I know is Tony Stark has managed to build it in a cave with traps. As the dragon is started up here, will it be stolen away? No, it won't. A hook will be the death of one. Dominator will go down as well. Prodigy is not going to let him go. And the last three members is running for the hills there, as Summoner's Rift gets assaulted by the Infernal Soul that will consume it. As Zetrox, yeah, playing with fire a little bit here, buddy, but I think you're going to be fine. Maybe.
Oh. You know, Kumiho missed a really big opportunity just to land the stun there onto Loco. That would have actually killed her, but unfortunate. I think the big thing here I want to talk about is Tang is not Tony Stark.
And Kumi is not alive after a beautiful combo like that. Jojo's just like lurking in the walls, like hunting his prey, sees the opening, says, hey, Loco, I'm going to give you a gift real quick.
That was actually just... When too much damage comes out of the blue like that, it's insane. And considering this, I'm pretty sure that's a blue cane as well. Just to
that's a Ross.
Oh no, it is Ross. Actually, no, you're right about that. He just looks blue because of the skin.
Yeah, no, that skin is a bit weird. I've used that one as well as Zetrox. Not done with the hunt, but will be forced to let it go there on the top half of the jungle. But that last couple minutes has accelerated. It was a 1,000 gold difference between these two teams like a minute ago, I swear, and now it's a little bit more than one.
Yeah, I'm just trying to like take into account. Oh, nice stun.
Engage there. This should be a death onto, yeah, not even chance to react. Beautiful combo. The flash ignite charm combination. Oh my lord. Run. Kang, run.
Absolutely ridiculous, isn't it? Just, most of the gold, believe it or not, is actually going to be sitting onto Mokul in this scenario. He's got 6,000 against the 4,400. That's purely because, again, the Rift Herald was used top. They're forcing a fight anyway. That's Dan Lunds.
Yeah, but the Lantern gets him out without any issues there, and a nice attempt, but again, the Thresh, we talked about the Thresh's job was to protect Prodigy in the bottom lane. Well, technically, yes, but also he can protect everyone as long as you're willing to click on the Lantern. Sorry, I was a Thresh main for like a year.
I understand it's been a Thresh meme for 5 years. Let's be perfectly honest. Okay, I honestly feel like that was a little bit of that. Oh, there's an avalanche.
Yeah, 2v1, the CC combination with a beautiful cleanse, but unfortunately I don't think it's going to be enough. No, it's not. As Mowgli CP took a bit too long, but guess who's in the wall? Destro says, hello, buddy, what are you doing over here? And he runs into LeMay. There's no running away, but they do have the numbers now. And Red is a little bit outnumbered there. Ruko trying to do what they can. Nut in the backline there. They will be enough to take down the threat, but the Syndra comes through. No one connecting with the stun there. They take down a second. They are simply filtering in. The ants go marching in one by one. Menjit, indeed, they die going in one by one. Mowgli holding the front line the best that he can, but will it be enough? As Loco jumps in with a flash, but there's no more extra damage. They're not going to have the damage to kill the Ahri. They're not going to have the damage to kill anyone else. Sure, they might pick it up courtesy of the dead Scion, but there is no one left alive. Run, Numbers, run for the hills. He gets it alive.
Yeah, that was literally divide and conquer right there. Every single step of the way. Realistically, Cleveland should have not won that fight because they were able to take out Prodigy early. I mean, Prodigy even used the flash and, of course, the cleanse to get away from it. But then with too much CC coming out of Wilty, too much CC coming forward from Dominating Nut, they were able to get that kill. And then with Dominating Nut's extra damage just moving in and out of the fight, the perfect positioning throughout it the entire time, were able to slowly isolate each member as they were coming in from the side of DLSL. Of course, in the end, when you do have those extra resources, when you do have that extra HP in your back pocket, slowly you begin to whittle down even the best strategies into play with just pure force and resource. And so that's how you can tell they were managing to get something back, because Tang was not in that fight at all. That was a 4 versus 5, and man, oh man, did Cleveland bring us back and show us something pretty special there.
Yeah, they showed us signs of life, but they are still down in gold vendors, which I think is still important to note. But this is, we mentioned it earlier, and I think as we see Richard being secured, that it is maybe worth just asking, you know, I'm going to be generous and call it 2,000 gold lead in the top lane specifically in favor of our Scion. How much does that actually mean? Because Scion is, if I'm not mistaken, he's a frontline. He just tanks literally everything. And how important is that frontline advantage for the side of DLSL?
In the mid game, it's actually huge because it means that you probably get to have at least about roughly another 3 rotations of your cooldowns, which when you're a CC bot is huge in those team fights and skirmishes. The other thing to take into account is that tanks in particular really have massive power spikes in that mid game because you haven't really itemized against them yet in terms of what you need to start chewing through that HP, armor, magic resistance, whatever happens to be in that case. So really at this point, Mokul is going to be the king in these scenarios. As you can see, he's just playing point guard, and it's really stopping these fights, these hard engages from happening, but they're going to try.
Yeah, split fight though. This is a little bit worrying as DLSL have been flanked on both sides. Normally this doesn't go well. Prodigy though, still alive. So is Loco, but Loco is low, but they haven't gotten through the front line there. And he was holding the line. That 2,000 gold from Mowgli is massive. But the back line dominating and Como. Can they hold the line? A beautiful hook! That's it! That's all they needed to get to the back line. You can run from it as far as you can, but the Thresh hook will find you.
And Dominating Nut is actually amazing in terms of holding those lines. Again, because of how strong Mokul is, it stopped them from actually getting in behind that backline. It was a great engage from Wilty, but when it's Tang, who's not too strong, really does need to mean it needs to be a perfect engage, not a good engage. And you could really see the fact that the team from Cleveland not being together as a unit meant they were unable to play a proper back to front, and that does mean that they were able to chew through, win that team fight, and get the dragon. And now it ends up being one of those grinds where you're going to be a little bit behind. all because your early game was that tiny bit scuffed.
Yeah, and normally so many times a flank like that has to be perfectly, and I mean picture perfectly executed, because if it's not, it just collapses.
It was good.
Like we saw. It looked good.
It was good. It looked really good. They got 2 priority members off the back of it. They actually probably bought them a ton of time. But the problem is when you've got, again, what you mentioned it in the early parts of the game, a brick wall human. Not even human at this point. He's a brick wall monster. Just holding that line, stopping your members from getting in and doing the damage on the members that need to be killed. You're unfortunately going to have them beginning to hit back, and that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, this Scion is utilizing the massive advantage that they've got. 2,000 gold, nearly 2,100, I should say now, in favor of this Scion. Courtesy, as you can see in the itemizations, Renekton's purely got, I'll come to that in a second, actually, as Braum is getting caught out. Flank TP could be pretty big here, but that feels a bit like a panic TP, and now at 22 minutes, yes, you've got Scion to tank it. Yes, you've got Vayne to shred it, but I'm not sure Baron is the best decision you can make here. But what do I know? I'm simply yelling at a screen while playing the game.
This could be a Baron throw coming off the back. The only advantage is Tang is still pretty far away, but they're not that far accelerated that I allowed them to go for it. And you can see them beginning to make their moves in now. They're just trying to poke in nice and early.
The weak is massive. That could be massive. Though also on the back end of that, Prodigy force the flank. Kang coming in for the back line there. He gets on the Prodigy. The rest of the fight is scattering up. Dominating. He's left untouched. The Ashe is left. Prodigy is left on his own as well. A split fight. You cannot keep fighting as if you're a solo man. You're a 5-man unit. Fight as a hand, not as a finger. As Kumo is getting flanked here from Loco, he will finally come in long enough. Dextrox bought the time for 2 more members to fall victim to the Syndra with 3 kills earned in that fight.
And this time the re-engage from Salle was perfect. They were waiting for all the members to come into that corner. When they see that the majority of them were clumped up, it was easy pickings from Mokles to come in for a massive engage. You can see, even with the arrow, even with the snowball, it didn't matter. It went into an unstoppable member that then plowed through and was the engaging moment for the rest of Salle to jump into it. To Tang's credit, he did manage to get the kill onto Prodigy because the rest of Salle just abandoned him underneath the Baron. That's unfortunate, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you lose one of the skirmishes or one of the battles. Right there was definitely a big win in one of the wars, and that will probably allow them to actually come back and continue to edge out these advantages, because the later this game goes, I'm still looking at it Salle's favor. And if they're ahead now, it means they're probably going to be ahead later.
Yeah, and they've gotten themselves a really nice gold advantage. 7,000 if I've actually done maths on string right for the first time in, well, far too long. With 44,000 gold. Most members
When did you graduate from school? When was the last time that you did math?
2014 I graduated, I think.
Oh man, I feel so old, eh? You made me feel old when you said that.
I mean, you say that, but I'm willing to bet Twitch has like 27, like 20. Oh god, what was it?
They're still in school, man. They haven't graduated
like,
at all.
Like, bro, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing with your life?
It's like, oh yeah, you graduated in 20, like it's coming from me. Hello, 2007.
Oh god.
I know, I'm a bloody boomer.
I wasn't even in high school in 2007, I should say.
What do you mean you were in high school in 2000? Stop making me older, dude.
Yeah, you know it's my job to just ruin your.
You really are ruining it right now. I must say that being said here, I'm not sure Moko wants to take this fight. I think pretty sure he's predominantly armor at this point, and Kumiho is his one bane at this point. So not too much is going to happen though.
The one worry for me though is it's an Ahri. Like, yes, the Ahri, I've always said, especially recently, that Ahri is a utility mid laner, not a damage mid laner. She goes for the Everfrost, and in this case, there is still some hope of life. Look at the second item. It is that beautiful, beautiful Void Staff. Reminding me of Season 3 Ahri is what I'm seeing. But the problem is, as it has always been with Ahri, you need to get access to the backline and get a full combo uninterrupted, which in the day and age, it just doesn't happen nowadays.
Yeah, it's very hard to get behind this specific backline as well, because again, you do have a giant Scion on the way. Dextrox is pretty good at holding it, and Vayne's one of the most, actually pretty damn mobile when she wants to be. The ability to go invisible when using that tumble, the tumble's on a relatively short cooldown. It's very hard to actually get on one of these priority targets. The only one that really is probably a sitting duck in most cases is Local, but here comes the engage.
They pull out the Braum. This means the team has to commit to the fight there. Prodigy is left untouched, so is Loco. They're filtering into a choke point, but I'm not sure that's the best decision, as Prodigy and Loco to Coco is left untouched, and Destrox is in the backline saying, guys, you aren't allowed to fight me. I can sustain everything you got. And more 3 kills in the back pocket there, and a charge down the middle lane could be all they wrote.
And it all comes back to that re-engage once again. The fact that Lemonade can come in and it's just so easy for Mokul to make it happen. At this point, Salle is just forcing the fights left, right, and center because you want this objective, you're going to have to fight us for it. They get in position, they can't really find a good spot to actually get in and get those priority targets, and once again, the re-engage from Salle is just too strong. They might be able to actually win off the back of this because they're going for the jugular right now.
Yeah, they're going for it. One turret will fall, but the members are coming up. This could actually be risky as Destrox holding the front line there. This Syndra gets a beautiful stun, but will there be backup? The members are filtering in. Dominating has to do well. Prodigy charging forwards. Can he get the damage table? Gets the cleanse. He does. But where is the backup? The Ari comes through. Zonya's popped out there. Can they save the Syndra? The answer is yes, they can. Actually, 3 kills, 4 kills with the Penta in the eyes of Prodigy. Can they secure? They're gonna dive. Tang, you're gonna live, buddy. Will it be enough? 1, 2, 3. The corpse is holding the aggro. Does get the Penta kill, but the team dies for the sins of the 80 carry.
Oh, that is just gold. Alright, that is the biggest BM I can imagine. Okay, so the game's gonna probably go a little bit longer because I don't think Thresh has enough damage to push this out. He's gonna have to hightail it on out of here. You know what I really hope now? I really hope that Tang is able to like complete a number of items and then just starts killing Vayne over and over again. And then Cleveland is able to win the game. I really hope that, because when you do something like that, you just have to, it just has to be a bit of a, you know, like some sort of comeuppance needs to come back, in my opinion.
What the ultimate outplay would be there is if Tang, while dodging on the fountain, bought a stopwatch, and the moment he's about to a stopwatch, and Prodigy dies at the turret.
Oh,
like, that would have been the ultimate bamboozle.
It's just like, when did he get Zonya? It's like he buys it in the middle of the fight while they're diving him. Just gets a stopwatch. That's all he needs to do. He's got room for it. He could have bought the stopwatch, especially after the first person died. Like, he probably has the ability to make that work.
I think, though, and I think this is everyone, when you're being dived under the fountain, your first thought isn't, hey, where's my stopwatch? It's, oh god, they're diving me. Prodigy goes in, picks up 1, and says, 1v1, nah, give me a 1v2, buddy. Get back here, I didn't give you permission to run away. As the top side does have a fight in the jungle. Braum is going to get caught out here. The Thresh is a nuisance, and the Clane is happy to pick up the kill.
Yeah, you can see now they're just playing with their food. This is a cat and mouse game at this point in time, and this cat is extremely well fed. He doesn't even want to eat the mouse. He just wants to sit there and bat and then let it walk around a couple of times. And you can see now it just seems to be them going through the very end. Here's the last fight, most likely.
Yeah, the Tang trying to do the best he can, but the Nexus turret's open, and of course will slammed into the Nexus, courtesy of the Condemned. That will be the game wrapped up at 29 minutes. When they eventually do take the Nexus. Prodigy, I don't feel like you got cheeky with the first dive. I'm not so sure the second will work, and the Nexus will fall in favor of De La Salle to be undefeated in the Queensland, ACT, and New South Wales region of Meta.
Yeah, that was an excellent match, purely because you could see the way that these little advantages that you pick up in the early game translates to those objective team fights beforehand. It could have been a completely different story if it was a little bit more clean coming out of Cleveland, purely because it means they would have been able to find the kills in those next objectives, and it wouldn't have been one of those scenarios where DLSL just keeps on edging out a bit of hunt, like an extra K gold here, a little bit more there, a little bit more an objective off the back of this, and eventually it became too much for them to handle. It was just an avalanche after that, and they didn't even have Nunu on their team.
Yeah, they're facing the Avalanche would be coming at them like, no. We're the Avalanche, thank you very much. We've got this. And there were some phenomenal signs of, I want to say signs of life from Cleveland, right? Like, it wasn't just, they're just getting run over and De La Salle just crossing over. Cleveland showed some brilliant signs of life, but they just were not able to keep up with the pressure and the gold advantage that De La Salle got nice and early. And speaking of those early gold advantages, Menjix, MVP. Now, I know some of Twitch chat is going to say, Prodigy's got a pentakill. Why isn't, shouldn't he be the MVP? Mowgli, up in the top lane on this Scion. Yes, he hasn't got the flashiest score of a 3, 4, and 21 on our Optus and Torrens University MVP screen, but Mowgli did God's work on this Scion.
This is the epitome of a tank. I will be a wall. I will stop you from getting to my team, and that's why they're able to get the pentakill. Just remember, who was the person who ran headfirst to get that pentakill for Prodigy? It was Merkel. He walked in there and he gave his life, and he is a true martyr for his team in this scenario, and that is why he is the MVP for this game.
Yeah, really, really impressive. Small gold advantage at the start of the game. Was able to use the assistance of the Rift Herald, smash down the turret, get all the plating. 2,000 gold at that point, and ended the game 2,000 gold ahead of SKT Tang, and just used that massive advantage to take over the game, never be not able to slip past them, and of course we know what happens when you can't get past the front line. The back line is very happy to do what they got to do. But speaking of that, Mendrix, we got to go to a bit of a break, and we have our third game waiting in the wing, guys, so do not go anywhere. When we come back, it is going to be University High School facing off against Willington Senior High School, so don't go anywhere.